there, YouTube. This is Wakeangel2K1. I know I haven't been uploading much for the past couple of weeks, but I've just been kind of busy. So let's get back into the swing of things with another custom figure. This is the Celtic Guardian, my favorite monster from Yu-Gi-Oh! Full disclosure, I intended to enter this into Figure Realm's anime contest, but because I'm an idiot, I accidentally forgot to click the contest button when I submitted the figure, and he ended up just going into the gallery as regular. So he couldn't be in the contest after that. Man, am I dumb. The base figure is a Mortal Kombat Quan Chi figure. I actually spent quite a lot of time trying to figure out what would be the ideal base for my Celtic Guardian. I thought I was going to use a Marvel Legends buck for quite a while, but I found this guy in a clearance rack for only $4, and he had a pair of pants and shoulder armor that is actually pretty good for making the Celtic Guardian. And like the whole thing is that I needed an action figure that had almost knee-high boots and pants on, which is actually pretty rare. So amazingly, this Quan Chi figure, which just managed to hang on and not get himself sold at the clearance price at my Toys R Us, just happened to fit the bill perfectly. Of course, his buck had to be modified at least a little bit. I took that weird animal skull that he wears as a chest plate off and sanded off all his gimp straps to make a smooth body, onto which I then modified the sculpting to have the Celtic Guardian stuff. This is actually kind of the first time I sculpted musculature on with the Celtic Guardian's amazing six-pack. Also, all the basic stuff that makes the armor, like like Quan Chi may have had the shoulder armor with the collar that I needed, but it did need to be modified to actually look like the Celtic Guardians, including on the back, where I had to make a cape that went underneath the armor, which is actually held in place by the armor, so, it's functional and it looks right. The shoulder pads are the only part that I didn't sculpt. I cut them out of craft foam so that they could have so that I could get a natural curve out of them, and they would hold their shape, because, when you try to put craft foam in something like this, it could slump before it has a chance to harden. Although I did use epoxy sculpt to make the fringe around the armor. So yeah, painted up, it actually really, really looks like the Celtic Guardian's torso now, doesn't it? You can almost forget that it was ever a Mortal Kombat character. Modifying the legs was a simple job. First, I had to cut off the kneecap skulls, because, seriously, Quan Chi, what is up with your skull fetish? And then sculpt actual pants knees, and then modify the boots to look more like the Celtic Guardian's boots. Again, with a paint job, there you go. You have a very normal pair of pants tucked into a relatively normal pair of boots. I also modified Quan Chi's hip skirts, because the skirts actually do work pretty good once cut into the shape of the Celtic Guardian skirts, and he even had that little crotch flap thing, which just needed to be modified to look like the Celtic Guardians. Are you seeing a pattern here? I also put on that little brown loop thing that goes across the Celtic Guardian's left hip. I do believe that is where he hangs his sword, instead of having a traditional scabbard. I believe within context of the roleplay, this makes the sword easier to draw, and as it is not in a full-length sheath. I also modified the arm guards, again, just to look more like the Celtic Guardians, which has these two metal braces with some fabric in between them. I'm not really sure how that's supposed to work as armor, but I don't know, maybe it's just padding. With a paint job, you can barely tell the difference. Then he has hands. The Quan Chi figure had a plethora of hands, so I modified all of them just in case I wanted to give the Celtic Guardian some expressive hand swappiness. Although I didn't take pictures of the painted hands, so you have to just wait until the figure is complete. The head modifications were kind of awkward, because I had to do the Celtic Guardian's hair and then make the helmet on top of it. Well, the Celtic Guardian, he has a really skinny head. I think it's to compensate for the way they drew his hair and helmet, so didn't really work for Quan Chi, so everything has to be a little bit wider. I did like how I actually used Quan Chi's shoulder spikes to make those little blade things on the Celtic Guardian's helmet, though, because I never would have been able to sculpt something so sharp, so just finding something that coincidentally matched the shape was a nice little bonus. And here we are, the Celtic Guardian, done as a properly articulated
6-inch tall action figure. Yes, Quan Chi's articulation is roughly on par with, say, a Marvel Legends. I think that's a pretty good comparison. I didn't have the original Celtic Guardian sword, so I took a toy sword that came with a discount action figure, and I gave it a proper paint job. It doesn't really look like the Celtic Guardian sword, but hey, let's just say it's an equipment card. His fabric cape, because of the way I rumpled it up to fit into the shoulder armor, has a nice billowy effect, like it's catching a bit of wind. So taking a side-by-side comparison, here is the only official Celtic Guardian action figure that I'm aware of. It looks nice, but only has 4 points of articulation, so, my action figure has the advantage of actually being able to do poses and stuff. And, of course, I had to stand him next to my Dark Magician Girl figure, because finding out that I'd be getting a properly articulated Dark Magician Girl was a large part of the inspiration for me creating this Celtic Guardian in the first place. Alright, with all that said, thank you all for watching this video. I'm gonna get around to making some more commissions very soon, so look forward to that. This is Wakeangel2K1 signing off.